She stopped me at the end of the driveway just as I was about to pull away. I had the engine running, my hands tight on the steering wheel, my whole life packed in the back seat in 2 duffel bags and a cardboard box. I didn't look at her at first. I couldn't. Then she said, softly but steady, "If you're leaving, take your time." That sentence broke something open in me. Before we begin, if stories about real life, second chances, and the quiet power of kindness speak to your heart, make sure you subscribe, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Here at Your Channel Name, we believe small moments can change everything, and your support helps us share more stories like this. Now let me tell you what happened that morning. 3 months earlier, I had moved back into my childhood home in a small town in Ohio. I was 34 years old, divorced, recently laid off from a job I thought I'd retire from, and carrying more pride than I could afford. My dad had passed 2 years before, and my mom was living alone in the same white house with the creaky porch swing and the cracked driveway. I told myself I was moving back to help her out. The truth? I was the one who needed help. The first few weeks were tense. I wasn't used to sharing space again. I'd wake up to the smell of coffee and the sound of her old gospel music playing softly in the kitchen. She'd ask gentle questions like, "How'd you sleep?" or any word from the job applications. And I'd respond with short answers, defensive without meaning to be. One night, after another rejection email, I snapped. "I can't stay here forever, Mom," I said, pacing the living room. "I need my own space. I need to figure things out." She looked at me over her reading glasses, calm as ever. "I know you do," she said. "You're not meant to stay stuck." But I felt stuck. Stuck in that town. Stuck in my failure. Stuck in the version of myself that couldn't keep a marriage together or a steady job. So when an old friend from Arizona called and said there might be work for me out there, construction management, decent pay, fresh start, I jumped at it. I didn't even have a formal offer yet, just a possibility. But it felt like oxygen. I told my mom I'd be leaving by the end of the week. She didn't argue. She didn't guilt me. She just nodded slowly. "If that's what you feel you need to do," she said, "then go see what's waiting for you." The night before I left, she made my favorite dinner, meatloaf with mashed potatoes and green beans, just like when I was a kid. We didn't talk much. The air felt thick with everything unsaid. The next morning, I packed the car while she stood on the porch in her house slippers, arms folded, watching. The sun was just rising, painting the sky in soft pink and gold. It should have felt hopeful. Instead, my chest felt heavy. I climbed into the driver's seat and turned the key. The engine hummed to life. I waved once, quick and awkward, and started down the driveway. That's when she stepped off the porch. Not rushing. Not panicking. Just walking, steady and sure, until she stood at the end of the driveway. I hit the brakes. I rolled down the window. "Mom, what are you doing? I've got a long drive." She came up to the car, resting her hand on the door frame. Up close, I could see the lines on her face more clearly. I could see how much she'd aged since Dad passed. But her eyes were still bright. "If you're leaving," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "take your time." I frowned. "What?" She smiled, but there was something deeper in it. "Don't run," she said. "Don't drive all the way to Arizona trying to outrun what hurts. If you're going, go because you're choosing something. Not because you're escaping." Her words hit harder than I expected. I looked past her at the house. The chipped paint. The flower beds she kept tending to even though her knees bothered her. The porch swing Dad had built. This place wasn't a trap. It was a refuge. "You think I'm running?" I asked. "I think you're scared," she said gently. "And that's okay. Just don't confuse motion with healing." I swallowed. My throat felt tight. I don't want to be a burden, I admitted. The word surprised me. I hadn't said them out loud before. She shook her head. You could never be a burden. You're my son. This house is big enough for your broken pieces. There it was. Kindness without condition. No lecture. No shame. Just space. I turned off the engine. The silence between us wasn't awkward anymore. It felt like breathing room. I don't know what I'm doing, I confessed. She reached into the car and squeezed my hand. None of us do, half the time. But you don't have to figure it all out today. We stood there for a while, the morning sun warming our faces. I realized I had been in such a hurry to fix my life that I hadn't allowed myself to simply sit in it. I can still call my friend, I said slowly. Tell him I need a little more time. She nodded. If it's meant for you, it won't disappear overnight. I got out of the car. We walked back up the driveway together, not as a failure returning home, but as a man choosing to pause. To breathe. To heal. The next few weeks weren't magical. I still sent out job applications. I still had days where I felt useless. But something shifted in me that morning. I stopped seeing my situation as a punishment and started seeing it as a season. I began helping Mom around the house, fixing loose railings, repainting the porch, cleaning out the garage. We'd sit at the kitchen table in the evenings, talking about Dad, about my childhood, about the things I wished I'd done differently in my marriage. She listened more than she spoke. One afternoon, while sorting through old boxes, I found a letter Dad had written me when I graduated college. In it, he said, "Success isn't about how far you go. It's about who you become along the way." I cried in that dusty garage like I hadn't cried in years. Kindness doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like a mother standing at the end of a driveway, asking you to slow down. Sometimes it looks like letting someone fall apart without trying to fix them. 2 months later, I got a job offer, right there in Ohio. A smaller company, less glamorous than what I'd had before, but steady and honest work. I took it. On my first day, I drove down that same driveway. Mom stood on the porch again, coffee in hand. This time, when I reached the end, I stopped the car myself and looked back. She didn't have to say it. I knew. Take your time. That sentence became my anchor. At work, when projects got stressful. In conversations with my ex-wife, when old wounds tried to reopen. In quiet moments when doubt crept in. Take your time. Years from now, I might still leave that house. I might still chase opportunities in other states. But I won't do it to escape who I am. I'll do it as someone who understands that healing isn't found in miles traveled, but in kindness received, and given. My mom never gave me a grand speech about resilience. She didn't hand me a 5-step plan to rebuild my life. She gave me something far more powerful. She gave me permission to pause. In a world that tells us to hustle harder, move faster, and never look back, that kind of gentleness feels almost radical. But it's in those pauses that we remember who we are. If there's someone in your life who seems to be running from heartbreak, from failure, from shame, maybe they don't need advice. Maybe they just need you at the end of their driveway, saying, "Take your time." And if you're the one behind the wheel right now, gripping it too tight, trying to outrun your pain, I hope you hear those words too. You are not a burden. You are not behind. You are allowed to slow down. Kindness won't always change your circumstances overnight. But it will change how you carry them. It will soften the sharp edges. It will remind you that you are loved, even in your unfinished state. That morning at the end of the driveway didn't fix my life. But it saved me from running away from it. And sometimes, that's more than enough. So today, wherever you are, choose kindness. Offer it freely. Receive it humbly. And when life feels overwhelming, remember, you don't have to rush your healing. Take your time.